The Odd Pod.
Odd Pod. Hello and welcome once again to another Odd Pod. And today we take a delve back into the archives and bring you a programme recorded by the late great David Collister and historian Peter Kelly, which was recorded and aired on Manx Radio back in February of 1994. Let's go and explore Douglas Railway Station.
Peter, what's Kelly's eye looking at today?
Well, I'm looking up again, David, and it's a pity the listeners aren't with us. Of course, we're recording this in the middle of the night, as we ever do, because I'm looking at a turret, a round tower with a conical pointed roof with a little bit of ironwork on top. And of course, we're looking against this marvellous, is it a full moon? It's a pretty big moon anyway, and the clouds going across it. It's in fact very impressive, I think, what we're looking at. And it's a red brick turret on the corner of a fairly large building which people tend, in fact, not normally to look at.
Now, currently it's in use for VAT purposes, but in the past it had a much, quite different use, and probably much more important use anyway.
Well, more important to that town, I'm sure most people now would say more important than that. We're down at Douglas Railway Station, but we're not looking at the booking hall, that building. We're looking at the building which, when you come in the main entrance gates, is on the left. And we've actually come through the passageway all the way out onto what was at one time the end of one of the platforms. And this whole chunk of building was erected during 1887 for the railway company. Now, prior to that time, they had a wooden station building at the end of the platform. It dated from when the trains opened in 1873, and there are photographs of it in existence. But the system had got going. They were sending trains, of course, south and across to the west, and trains were running with the regularity of buses, I suppose, now. And they set to and built themselves this fine office block, and it served two purposes. One was the administrative offices for the railway company, and of course they were not only dealing in people but in delivering goods and so on, so there was a lot of paperwork. And the other end of the building, which we walked past on the ground floor, was a buffet bar, which therefore provided refreshments at the Douglas station for people waiting for the train just arrived, or indeed people in the vicinity.
Yeah. It's a very spacious building inside, but it's certainly impressive outside. I mean, the design and the pattern, perhaps, or the design of the brickwork is very, very good, isn't it?
Well, as I said before, people tend not to notice it. I mean, we're standing now, and of course, because of the light we're in, the shadows are showing off the various relief in the brickwork to advantage.
Yes.
But the architect was James Cowell. Now, James Cowell was really a builder, but turned architect, but continued to build at the same time. That was Cowell, C-O-W-L-E, whose business premises was just up the road here in St George's Street. Now, he was responsible for a lot of designs for the railway company, and here I would sort of describe this as Germanic or maybe Scottish baronial in the way the corner has been done with this round tower and turret. And another of his buildings, which people again pass but tend not to notice, although it's harder to notice, is Kroger, that fine house on the way south.
You see similarities, yes.
Well, you can see the round tower and the turret, and that was a little earlier. That was 1876, but here we are in 87, and he's still using similar features. But if we look at the very end gable, he's quite classical with his pediment and pilasters, yet as we look round, he then gets that sort of high Victorian projecting roof in the middle as you get on churches and Victorian buildings of the mid-Victoria reign period.
Now, there's an archway between the building we're talking about and the station booking office, which is just purely decorative, is it really?
Well, the booking office came later, and I think we'll deal with that in another programme. And of course the glazed canopy runs across the front of that building.
Yeah.
But the linking archway came, of course, when this building was built, the second building, the booking hall, which replaced the wooden station. And it was a way to link the two. And of course, this way through was not open. The public couldn't just walk through. They had to go through the booking hall to get onto the platform, whereas that was a sort of goods entrance and private way of coming through. So it provided a visual link, but also created a gateway as a purpose.
Well, this again is a building which has been reused, which I'm sure you would approve of the reuse of the building. But looking at the exterior here, I mean, it looks good for what, another 150 years?
Well, I'd like to think so. Certainly, yes, I do approve of the reuse. I mean, this is what conservation's about. It's not wrapping something up in mothballs and saying, well, there's an example of such and such. It's actually putting it to use, so it's serving a purpose. It's generating an income which can be used to help maintain the fabric. And, hats off to those responsible in the initial conversion and in subsequent repairs, that the place is kept in good nick. And as you say, David, will be here for a long time, maybe longer than that, for all we know.
We'll have a long wait for the train, I suspect, though.
Yes, the train now departing went a long time ago.
The Odd Pod. Odd Pod.